Okay, so as mentioned, I'm Vince Payne. I'm not really one to talk about myself a whole lot, but for a little bit of background, that's me that you see there on the right. I come from the field. I'm a structural engineer by trade. I'm not a developer in any way, so I'll just say that I work with some very smart folks that make some of this all become possible. So you see the two logos down there in the bottom, Opus and North Star. North Star is the mining side of the operation. We work in the field, mostly in Lab West. We've got about 90 people right now, and then we take all of those learnings and turn that into some pretty incredible AI-based software. And just to clarify, this is not designed to be a sales pitch. Hopefully it's a little bit educational for you. If you have any questions after, obviously happy to answer. So we used to say when we did these presentations that there's hundreds of companies out there digitizing paper-based forms. Obviously, we're 100% agree that digital is better than paper. Now we say it's probably thousands of companies. It's becoming quite popular. But from our learnings and our time in the field, we said, well, rather than just digitize, let's actually use that data to fundamentally improve safety, improve efficiency, and improve quality. And we're using AI to do just that. So 3 or so years ago, when we got started on this journey, not a lot of people knew a whole lot about AI. It was kind of almost like this black magic. Very few people knew what GPT was. Then last year, people were scared of AI. Everyone knew what it was, but when we were talking to folks, most people were kind of scared and skeptical. And if you contrast that with now, in terms of changing attitudes, now when we talk to folks, everyone expects we're using AI, and they don't even so much ask if we're using AI now, they say, how are you using AI? So in terms of the folks here in the room, why should you care about all of this? I think, and I did put a little disclaimer there, that's obviously my biased opinion, but it's probably one of the biggest opportunities for improvement in industrial operations in the last 20 years. And I say that because existing systems and all those folks digitizing forms that's all they're really doing. They're just digitizing a paper-based form. And the two problems that we see are new workers, and they're getting hurt because they don't know what they don't know. And we're also seeing issues with tired workers, and tired workers are becoming complacent, they're making shortcuts, and then they're getting hurt. And finally, if you're interested only in the business case side of things, AI can improve workflow efficiency. It says here 30%. It can be a lot higher depending on if you're in a very high compliance environment. So if we were to break AI for mining into two main camps, you have the geophysical, which the last presentation was, I would say, focused more on the geophysical side. That is not what we do at all. We're on the operational side of AI, and how we use it is really all about data collection and decision making. So we want to make data collection 10 times easier. We want to automate data processing by at least 80%. And we want to give those frontline staff the info that they need right now. And really, a lot of the goal of this, it's like two components. One is giving those frontline staff the information they need, and then also giving management a comprehensive picture of what's on the go in the field so that they can identify issues and opportunities. So I'm going to ask you to imagine a few things here with me. Imagine a system that gave your team the relevant information that they needed automatically when they needed it. Then imagine a system that flagged and helped mitigate issues before they became incidents. And then imagine a system that integrated a lot of complex data from across your entire organization to give you and your entire team actionable insights real time and company-wide. So to do that, I'm going to go through 5 scenarios. In the interest of time, I'm going to probably go through 3 in detail and 2 quickly. So FLRAs and safety forms, we can use AI to identify gaps. Observation card system, which is a very important component of any safety program. We can do auto classification to really cut down time there. Standard operating procedures, SOPs, decision making, and truck inspections. So the first example we're going to use here is a field level risk assessment. In this example, I did this specifically for this show. In the field level risk assessment, we're talking about it's a group of 3 people. They're going to go out and do idle or replacement and guarding repair. So very relevant to an operating mine. They're going to talk about the work they're going to do, the hazards, and the controls. And what our AI can then do is identify the missed hazards. So what hazards did those 3 workers miss? And then it's going to show them a series of relevant controls that are going to prevent that incident. So you see here on the right-hand side, it's just a screenshot of this. It's basically giving those frontline workers a number of ways that they can eliminate that hazard real time. So you think about those new workers that are getting hurt because they don't know what they don't know. Tools like this, and again, I don't want to turn this into a sales pitch. It's supposed to be educational, but AI and large language models have an incredible opportunity to do an analysis on your safety reporting and pick up where the folks in the field may have missed a couple things, and that can prevent incidents. This one here is a fairly, I'm going to have to be fairly high level on this because it's a very complicated topic that I'm trying to cover in just a couple minutes. Basically, it's a standard operating procedures, all your regulations, all your documentation can be input into what's called a vector database. That is nearing the kind of cutting edge of AI right now. So imagine a system that predicts the exact documentation your team needs, and then it gives them that automatically when and where they need it. So if you think about your company, there's probably hundreds or thousands of documents, and all of your employees, it's not realistic that your employees are going to know every sentence in every document. So what a vector database can do is it can pick out the very important components of that documentation and give it to them exactly when they need it. So when they're doing something like an FLRA, it can identify conflicting plans. So maybe, for example, like the tie-off height, for example, working at heights, the tie-off height in Newfoundland is 10 feet. Maybe your project safety plan says it's 6 feet. So we can give very detailed insights that are very specific to your documentation. And then your employees are going to receive tailored real-time guidance. Observation cards, another really interesting way you can apply AI. I assume everyone knows what I mean by an observation card. Typically it was a paper-based system. You'd write down something you saw, whether it's good or bad. You drop it in a box, and then that feeds into changing how the safety program operates. Historically, they were handwritten. We did a little short poll, and most of them had about 47 on average check boxes. The worker classifies it, and then they transcribe it. So we said, well, we can eliminate a lot of those steps. We can have it such that you speak into your phone rather than either writing by hand or typing. And we can predict the type, the severity, and so on, so that we cut the time to complete by about 50%. And one of the things we found is that when we make it 50% easier to do this, the usage went up on average 4.6x. So about 500% more observation cards are coming in, which is a fairly important metric in terms of improving safety on your job site. And that works. This is just an example. I noticed a severely frayed extension cord in the break room. I removed it and tagged it out so it couldn't be used. So rather than having to pick from a number of check boxes, so we know the type was electrical, we know the location was the break room, the severity was a near miss, and we know exactly what they did about it. So we made this whole process a lot easier, and that actually drives a lot higher compliance. On the advanced trend analysis side, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Trend analysis is probably what people think of a lot around AI. It's one of the older components of AI. It's still a very valuable component, but there are lots more people doing this. Essentially, in its most valuable form, you've got data from many different places, so it's going a lot farther than just a correlation that you could do in something like Excel. It can do things like fatigue analysis, but it's looking at a much bigger data set. And then something like truck inspection. So you can do things like predict severity of issues based on inspection reports. You can do things like flag when a vehicle isn't being used in the right manner or the right application. So why does this all matter? We see quite a few positive outcomes coming out of this. So the 2 blue ones on top, I'm going to go into a little more detail, but we also see A big improvement in error reduction from a quality management point of view. Communication and culture within your team, we actually see pretty significant increases there. And then also decision making and project management. We give you the information that you need such that you can improve on your decision making, and then you can make pertinent decisions for your projects. So going to why this is important, we're very passionate about safety. It's kind of core to what we do. When we look backwards at some of our clients, this was one, we got this data maybe 6 weeks ago. A client had implemented our software about 12 months earlier, and we see that now the results are very clear. TRIR, total recordable injury rate, dropping from 12.7 to 4.67, and the LTIR for lost time injuries dropping from 4.2 to 0.78. So in the case of that company, they had about 200 to 250 employees. Just kind of rough math, that means 12 people didn't have an LTI. So 12 people weren't hurt seriously at work by implementing this. Now, we know it's definitely not just solely our software, it's many things put together, but it's to say that there is a big opportunity here to use AI, whether you use our software or you go with another solution. This can pay off in a big way, and you can see some really meaningful impacts. And the last one I'm going to really go into is the time savings. So we did a little poll last week around how long people think it takes to do some common tasks. So truck inspection, people said on average takes about 32 seconds. And there's no way you can inspect your truck in 32 seconds because there's a lot of questions, and you're essentially just doing it as quick as possible then. Things like an FLRA, find a document. The find a document was an interesting one. People said on average, it would take them about 4.5 minutes. So then we asked people, okay, now that we got you on the phone, let's go find your quality policy. And then we'd wait, and then they'd actually do it there. And on average, it took them about 16.1 minutes to do. So all of this means that things like vector databases can save you an enormous amount of time. When we look here in terms of actual savings, and some of this is from studies across not just mining, it's oil and gas and construction and so on, they're saving 73 hours per year per frontline worker, 390 hours per year on whether it's HSE admin, operations manager, whoever's managing the kind of paperwork side. And that results in almost $100,000 a year in additional productivity across an entire team. So, and this is the last real slide here, whether you're purely just digitizing or you're going to go into an AI solution, the business case is quite strong in essentially all of our past implementations. We have had some lessons learned that we've got here on the screen. Not everybody likes AI. There's in almost every workplace, there's maybe 20 to 30% with some pretty significant pushback. We do know from experience that we need to make the user experience as easy as possible. So that goes into everything from the UI of the actual app and the software itself, but also how do we train them? Multi-format training is very important. Not everybody learns the same way. So if you're going to implement a new software, you're going to need things like in-person training. Some people like PDFs, some people want videos, some people want kind of hands-on training. Everyone's a little bit different, and if you just go with the kind of one-size-fits-all, in our experience, you're going to kind of alienate a lot of the rest of the group. And finally, start with the 2 to 3 most common tasks. And what I mean by that is, say you want to start doing, say you want to implement a new system. Don't do the form or don't kind of start with the form that you use once every 6 months. You're not going to get enough kind of buy-in from that. So start with something like a truck inspection, an FLRA, and so on. So a truck inspection, you should be doing them every day. Maybe you do them every week, but you're going to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those throughout the month. So the people are going to get in, they're going to understand how it works, and they're not going to forget about it. Whereas if you pick something like a quarterly facility inspection, by the time the next quarter comes around, most people have forgotten how it works. So you don't really get the buy-in in the same way. And that is all. We have a booth that I think is going to be taken down shortly, but certainly happy to chat if anyone has any questions on anything project management related, AI, safety, software, etc. So thank you very much. Thanks for listening.